my pleasure to welcome Dolores. Dolores, before we begin, can you kind of just let folks know what is the YWCA and how does it differ from the YMCA?
The YWCA is sort of a sister organization to the YMCA. They were established around the same time, some 150 years ago. They're almost as old as Canada, institutional Canada. In Toronto, we operate totally independently. So the YMCA serves communities, women, men, families, children. The YWCA serves women only. We are the largest multi-service provider of women's services in the city of Toronto. Our biggest department is housing, and we have permanent housing, transitional housing, shelters, a big range of housing options for women and women-led families. Our second biggest department is employment and training, which is where the skills trades program is housed. And we provide all kinds of services for women and some men. One of our Employment Ontario program in the Scarborough area serves men and women, but all the others are exclusively serving women at this time. We run camping for girls, leadership programs for women and young women, support programs, all kinds of programming for women and women-led families. So that's about the YWCA. The confusion is because in the smaller communities that cannot sustain two independent organizations, they join. For example, in Ottawa is the YWCA organization. So they join forces because they don't have communities strong enough or large enough to sustain two independent organizations. But in Toronto, we are totally independent. We have different missions, different visions, and we offer very different programming. Did I lose all of you? Or?
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. So let's just jump right into it. So what do you do in your current role at the YWCA?
So I have two portfolios, as I said. I have newcomer and refugees, and then I have the women in trades and technology. The YW has been one of the pioneer agencies providing apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeship training programs for women and women-led programs. We started with a partnership 12 years ago with George Brown for a carpentry program. And then since then, we've partnered with colleges, we've partnered with private institutions, we've partnered with unions to deliver a very broad range of skills trades programs. We've done horticulture, transportation, but we seem to be, the bulk of our work seems to be in the construction industry. So we've done refrigeration mechanics, electricians, gas technicians, painters, glazers, and now we've ventured into tile, terrazzo, and marble. So as some of you know, funding for skills trades programs is somewhere folkloric in the sense that you don't get the same funding every year. So depending on what the labor market says and where the funding available is, we run programming. So this year we're running the mobile application technology, mobile application development, which is a skills training program for women who want to become programmers and develop apps. We're running the terrazzo, tile, and marble pre-apprenticeships, and we're running the painter and glazer pre-apprenticeships. So this is what we're offering this year.
Awesome, awesome. Did you start working at the YWCA in your current role right now?
Say that again?
When you started at the YWCA, did you start in this current role?
No. I grew into management after being at the YWCA. My first job was actually as a life skills coach. My background is in adult education, and then I was a frontline program worker for a couple of years. Then I left the Y, and I worked for the Immigration and Refugee Board for a little while, and then I came back to the YW when the opportunities go into migration, and the skills trades became available. And then for the last number of years, I've been in a management position.
So tell me a bit, like when you started, how long have you been at the YWCA?
20 years.
20 years. So what, I love that laugh. So when you started, was the Women in Construction program around at that time?
No, no.
So can you talk a bit about, hey, can you tell us a bit about what the YWCA Women in Construction program is, and why is it you think that YWCA created this program? What is the gap that it's filling?
So two main reasons, right? One is that our mission is to create opportunities for women advancement in whatever capacity. We provide an endless array of skills training programs just to provide women with the opportunity to find careers, to advance, to shift careers, and to get settled in and become financially independent. That is our mission, right? In addition to fighting against domestic violence and other forms of violence. So there was a shift about 15 years ago in government funding, because actually even longer than this, I think the Conference Board of Canada predicted that there was going to be a shortage of skilled labor across all trades. And they began the buzzword, you have to do something about increase the attraction of young people especially, but the labor force to choose careers in the skills trades, or there's going to be a shortage of labor, which has actually happened, right? So there was funding began opening up to programs with what in those days were called marginalized groups, which nowadays we call equity seeking groups, but it is the same group, meaning those who are not represented, right? So you look at the construction, you walk by any construction site, you walk by any of the major infrastructure programs, and you could see the ethnicity, the predominant ethnicity among workers, right? It was very obvious that there were groups of social groups that were not represented. So, the opportunity came. We have very good relationships with George Brown through other partnerships, and we asked them if they will go on it with us. And at that time, the director of the program was very keen, very supportive of women programs, and we ran our first, and then never looked back.
Awesome. You kind of talked about some of the finishing trade. Can you, for folks who are listening who don't know what the finishing trades are, can you just talk a bit about what is a finishing trade?
Yeah.
So, an example.
If you're thinking of joining the construction as an industry, it's like a shopping mall, really long shopping mall. You entrance. When you enter, you find the heavy duty work. You find demolition. You have excavation. You have all kinds of trades that have to do with actually getting the sites ready, right? And we're talking construction. We're not talking about home renovation. That's a whole different conversation. But construction is where the money is where the biggest, most lucrative contracts are designed, and where workers get, very good, decent wages. So when you come in, you have all this heavy duty, heavy machinery, and all kinds of trades that have to do with setting up the construction site. Then you go into structure. It's still very heavy duty. Those are the beams, and there is a whole new range of trades that become involved in putting up the pipes, setting up the conduits for the electricals, and so forth. And at the end of this long walk, you have the finishing trades. So the finishing trades are the ones that make it look pretty, and do the final touches. So they are the ones that once you have the structure, they will put those big, huge glass panels. They are the ones who, once the walls are up, will do the tiling, will do the finishing, will do the painting, will just have it ready for you to walk in. This is why they're called the finishing trades. So far, so good?
Perfect.
Okay, so why are we now, for the last 5 years, we seem to have settled on finishing trades. And it's because our experience is that women actually do really well on the finishing trades. Does not mean that a woman could not do demolition. That's not the point. She could if she wanted to and have the physical stamina and strength to do it. But the finishing trades are less labor intensive for the most part. The women also walk into finished structures with running toilets and running water. And there is a number of things that women prefer to have when they have to make choices. So it's very attractive to them in that sense. But what really makes the difference is that finishing trades pay more attention to the detail and the finishing of a product than the other parts of all the other trades do before getting to a finished site. And most women have a natural talent for this in different degrees. And I don't want to, do any kind of stereotyping. But for the most part, women will pay attention to details of colors, of volume, of size, of light that come natural to them without effort. And training in a skilled trade that is less effort than having to do something that is a lot more effort just makes you more successful. It's just simple math, right? So we were fortunate to notice this some 6 years ago now, and to start looking for partners who could actually partner with us to do finishing trades. And we sort of become not the experts, but we become the place to go to if you want to do a finishing trade, right? So we've made relationships with those who run trades in these areas, are no longer competing to do trades in electricians or refrigeration mechanics or in others. We are now really focusing on doing trades where we know women will have higher chances of being successful than other trades within the construction industry.
It's interesting because, a few years ago, I've been to the drywall union a couple times, and the drywall and acoustic finishing training and union center. And at the front, when you come in, you see all these awards of like competition, and which is basically they have like this competition that takes place every year where, all their union members, men and women, go to Las Vegas and compete nationally, internationally. And when you look, you'll see a few of those, their union members or journey persons who've won those competitions, like go to Vegas and won those competitions, have been women. So it's been interesting that women are not just getting into your point, they're not just getting into it, but they're actually excelling. And yeah, like I said, at a really good rate. So yeah.
Yes. So that's why we seem to be, staying, providing and increasing access to finishing trades, skilled trades, in addition to our programming in the technologies, IT, information technology, which is a whole different ballgame.
Can you talk a little bit? I don't know if you have this, but like, what are some of the salary range for the finishing trades graduates from your program are making in their current career? Just like a range.
The finishing trades, most of them are unregulated, right? And for those of you who don't know much about the skills trades, regulated and unregulated trades, there's a big difference. The path is different, the number of hours is different, the requirements are different, and the pay is also different. The finishing trades within the game of the skills trades are not the ones that pay the most. So a painter that is just a level 1 painter will make $18 to $20 an hour to start. But depending on what aspect of the painting you choose, then the salaries can go from 18 to 20 to start to 35 and 40. So an example, a graduate from last year, a woman from Peru, she met one of our employers and he offered her something that is very unique, which is exterior painting with a blast gun. Very unusual, very unique kind of work. But of course, you have to hand from those platforms outside. So it's not for everybody, right? This is not for everybody. But she was curious, and she had done mining in her home country. So she thought, if I've gone down into the pit, I think I can hang myself from a building. So she started at 22. 6 weeks later, she was at 26, and less than 3 months later, she was at 34. So it goes, it varies. And then you have other women who just don't want to do the straight painting. They just do flat surfaces. They don't do it full time. They combine it with other responsibilities, family, children, or other jobs, and they make $18, $20 an hour, and that's fine for them. So it really varies. How specialized do you become, right? With the terrazzo, the same thing. You can do bathrooms and make $18 an hour and just put tiles, or then you can do these absolutely amazing mosaics that people ask for their terrazzas, for the whatever, and make a lot more. I would say anywhere between 45 and 65,000 a year is the average wage for a full-time journey person in the finishing trades, depending, of course, the level of experience, the complexity of the work, and whether you were union or you were contractors, which is, in our sector, is the biggest conversation these days.
Do you accept people who identify as trans women into your program?
We do. Into our programs, into our housing, into our programs, absolutely. We accept individuals who self-identify as female.
And are there challenges that a trans woman may face in the construction sector that may differ from other folks in your program?
Of course. This is a new journey for many people. From not being comfortable using the language, from having apprehensions, from wanting to help but not really helping, to just downright discrimination and not acceptance, right? So the whole thing. For me, the only experiences that I've had coming from the environment and the path of working with women is always safety. Right? There is no job, no matter how much they're gonna pay you, that will compromise your safety. Those are decisions that need to be made very smartly. But if an individual wants to actually, that is determined to do this, we will not be the ones stopping them. But perhaps willing spend more time ensuring that their physical safety and their personal safety somehow gets, if not guaranteed, because you cannot manage the behavior of others, at least have in place sufficient awareness, sufficient training, and sufficient personal strength to know where your boundaries is, and you can actually be your own advocate to set your own safety standards. Because we cannot control how other people feel about us, but we can control what the safety measures we put in place to ensure our own safety. And that's the approach that we take whenever we have individuals who may not fit the norm being heterosexual males for the time being.
So what do you, when you say, just now you said something I found very interesting, like it's about the boundaries that you can put into play as an individual. So what do you tell the graduates or the women in your program, what in terms of setting boundaries on the work site, where you're working in close proximity with folks, like can you talk a little bit about what are some strategies that you've kind of mentioned to folks around that?
The entire program, the entire pre-app program and pre-job readiness is about safety, really. We do everything else, but it's about safety and about building safe relationships, right? Because you need your co-workers. You want them to be your allies. You don't want them to be antagonistic. You don't want them to be your enemies. You want them to become your friends or to become your allies. And I have to say that the majority of women who have found very strong mentors have been men. And so it's about building relationships. It's about learning to manage your gender in an environment where you're not being evaluated for your gender, you're being evaluated for your work. And the message is always let the work speak for itself. Let the work speak for you, because this is how you will earn your colleagues' trust, right? Is that you're not gonna earn their trust because you're a woman and you're the only woman. Some, and we're human, right? Some will try to rescue you. Some will try to protect you. Some will try to just kick you out. Everybody reacts differently. Even in normal work environments, you always find people that, all kinds of behaviors. The idea is that you need your work to speak for itself, because this is how you will earn their respect. And once you have it, then, relationship is a lot easier to handle. So it's always a lot of emphasis on being your best and not be given any special considerations because you are a woman or because you are, somehow different than the norm. Is the work needs to speak for itself. And once that happens, employers are smart. Employers, well, if they don't have to change, they may choose not to change. But once there's just no way to go back, and we're in a situation which is like the opera, that there's no way to return from this, then for them it's all about the bottom line and having good workers. A good worker to an employer is like a mine gold, because saves them time, recruiting, training, supervising. If you are a woman and you do the job as well or better than a man, then they will not kick you out. They will not, and that is the key element. That is on the one hand, and on the other hand, to know very well your boundaries of gender, right? Gender relationships are a little bit different than, men to men or women to women. There is certain thing that happens that come with the culture of being men in a men environment and being women in a women environment, right? So when the two come together, chemistry operates differently. And you still have to be mindful of this, but not let it be the determining factor. Let the work and the quality of your work be the determining factor in that work environment. And you will be one of the crew, and they will protect you and defend you like they will defend their sisters and their daughters. So this has been our experience in terms of bringing women into primarily men work environments, and primarily, in construction sites where there is a lot of traffic, a lot of people moving around, and a lot of tradespeople coming in and interacting with them all the time.
Okay, I appreciate that answer, actually. Are there specific challenges that make it harder for women to get into, and not just get into, but also excel in the construction and trade sector?
Sorry. The challenges that women face are the same challenges that other equity-seeking groups are facing, right? The fact that we have no mentors, we have no contacts. We are the newcomers. We are the last kid on the lineup or the last one to arrive to the block. But that is not unique to women. This is unique to all those other social groups who have not found yet an equal representation in the workplace. And the challenges that they face are the same as many of others, But for women particularly, childcare is a very big issue. Constructions begin very early and sometimes end very late. And there is transportation and childcare tend to be the biggest barriers for women entering the skills trades. It's not unique to women, and not having mentors is not unique. Of course, there are some people who have misogynist opinions about women, where women should be, but to be honest with you, there are less and less we don't find that kind of barriers. We don't find that kind of conversation anymore. The conversations we're having now is about, these are the qualifications of the women. This is the work that she's done. Give her a try, right? Just give her an opportunity. Take it for a week and tell me. And 90% of the people we approach with qualified and competent apprentices or graduates from pre-apprentices will give a woman a chance. So the hard work is already done. I think the seeds have been planted. We now have to nurture them so that they can blossom into huge, humongous trees full of flowers and fruits.
Can you talk a bit about what are the benefits of women-specific construction programs, such as, YWCA Women in Construction program or the ACON Women in Trades program? Yeah.
Well, okay, so there's two parts to this. Having women who have no experience in construction or are new to the skills trades be together to begin their journey is actually, and it has been proven, is actually very beneficial. The attrition rate is really low. Women stay because women create a culture of support and collaboration, which is typical of, not all women, but it's typical of women's group. This means that this chemistry that I was talking about happens when men and women are together is absent. So women bound together and they actually support each other to complete this initial part of the journey. But it's not to their advantage to remain in women-only programs, which is why I think is the setup we have with our training partner is actually the best, whereby we train them and we keep them together as a group. We as the YW support them with all the issues that most women face, but the training site is not for women only. They are actually exposed to apprentices in that particular trade who are on level 1, on level 2, who are now masters, who are just coming back. So that it's like a little bubble in an ocean, but the bubble eventually needs to burst because they're not going to be very rarely you're going to have, or not yet, perhaps not even in my lifetime, you're going to have a women only group. Maybe in the future, but I don't see it now. Most likely you're going to have either 20% to 80%, 40% to 60% relationship between men and women. That is what is most likely to happen. So you need to know, you need to create alliances with people who are experienced, not because they are men, but because they have what you need, which is contacts, which is experience, which they can become your mentors, they can teach you, they can help you grow. So yes, women-only programs are needed at the very beginning because the environment that creates is very conducive to women's learning, and women naturally, for the most part, support each other and they are collaborative in nature. And that makes that you have more chances of succeeding, bringing this group of 15, 20, whatever the group is, to completion. And then, your chances of having more representation are higher. So yes, contrary to what some people believe that, you're going to work with men, you might as well start working with men. I will say yes, but not at the very beginning.
Sorry, finish your thought, sorry.
No, I think that in the journey of entering, you need to start building relationship with your coworkers, regardless of the gender, right? But I think doing women-only program at the beginning where they may feel themselves awkward when they get on all these harnesses and they've never seen themselves looking this way, and there is a process of entering and becoming a journey person that is easier to be done with women-only programs than it is with mixed programs, and that has been our experience.
So to that point, so that jumps into my next question. In your opinion, do you find that women more successful in all women trades pre-app programs compared to other pre-app programs where all genders are participating to get into the union. So not necessarily, we're not talking about the apprenticeship, but just to get into that union. So those pre-apps. So yeah,
It's a very big question because I don't have a stats of what other people are doing. I can only speak for our own.
right.
But
This is your opinion though. This is your opinion.
my opinion is that women-only programs have higher rates of success than mixed groups. Because in a mixed group, women will be the minority. And for the most part, right? There will be 8 men and 2 women and mixed groups. Whereas you don't have them the other way around. You don't have 8 women and 2 men because of the nature of the funding, because, we're the only ones who do, well, we're not the only ones who do women-only program, but we're primarily doing women-only program. And I don't think it's a balance. I don't think it's a balance in other groups. And I think women will lose on the unbalance when you have, 10 men and 2 of them or 1 of them in this group. It does not have to be the case. They could be very successful and they could work great. But if we want to make a generalization, I will say yes. I will say women-only pre-apps and entry-level skills training programs are more successful than mixed groups.
I appreciate the honesty. What are 3 advice that you would give to women thinking about going into the trades and construction sector?
I will say the skills trades or the construction trades are not for everyone. There's a lot of buzz these days, right? Something becomes the flavor of the month, and everybody wants to do it because it's the thing to do. The money is good. The labor market, the jobs look really good. Okay, but there is certain things that there has to be a compatibility between who the person is and what the person has to offer and the job they're going into. I think that some career assessment will be very advisable, right? Sort of test the water before you go into swim, right? Test the water. There are some programs out there that allow you to sort of test different or explore different trades within an industry to see what will be your best fit. You need to really be honest with yourself, right? That once you pass the fanfare and then, it's like a little gift, once you unwrap it, what is left behind is really hard work. Long hours, yes, a lot of pay, very good pay, very good prospects, but it's hard work and it's a lot of physical work. So don't detract, try it, but don't think it's a rosy picture. So that's one. Make sure that you and the job you want to go or the trade that you are into are actually going to become best friends. And sometimes you know that very quickly, right? Test the harness, put on the equipment, go and see a site, go and see where they work, see them on action to say, can I do this 365 days a week? Or sorry, a year? So that's one. The second will be know your trade. You need to know that a trade is like a little nut in a very big machinery. And this nut, we know, is in constant motion and in constant contact with other, trades that circle around you. You need to be comfortable in that environment. You need to be comfortable wearing harnesses and wearing things that go between your legs. You need to be comfortable in thinking, I belong here, right? Yeah, I belong here. As I am, who I am, I belong here. That is really important as well. And the third thing, I will say, put it in context of a really long or a longer career path. People who work in the trades, their bodies take the shock when in their best years, but you need to have a plan A and a plan B. And I always tell the women, especially the women that come to us, in their late 30s, you're not going to be doing this job for 25 years. So you're going to be doing this job probably for the next 10 or 15. You need to have a plan B. In this journey from year 1 to year 10 or year 15, you need to have already chosen what's going to be your next move. Whether you go into health and safety, whether you go into training, whether you're going to becoming a specialist on one aspect of the job, which only a few people do and is very well paid. You need to have a plan B, because the money is very good, but money runs out and you remain. So be smart about it, right? Be smart about it. Go back to the people who help you get in, see if they offer career counseling, and create a plan for yourself. A plan that can actually take you to retirement or to your older years with something to do that you like, and something to do that actually rest on all the work that you've already done. Those will be my 3 pieces of advice.
Okay, thank you for that. And this is another opinion question. Based on the work that you've done, and also the graduates of the women that's gone through your program and feedback that you've heard from these participants, what are the common, or what are some common mistakes men make working around women in construction?
Many men would like to protect women. They still have this, side of them, and they probably have daughters and sisters or mothers and wives, and there is a side of them that is very protective, and they still want to protect women, and they come with the best intention, and sometimes they don't necessarily take kindly with the women. Says, I can do this and I really don't need your help, but thank you, right? It's funny because we were expecting everything else but the rescuers. So the rescuers have become a little bit of a common theme in our training program, right? Be kind, be courteous, be lovingly, and that kind of love, but set boundaries, right? Set boundaries. Always set your boundaries. You need to prove that you can do the job. You need to create those, again, relationship building, right? These buffers between you and your coworkers, where there is room to maneuver, where you're taken seriously, where you actually are valued for your work, not for how pretty you are or how funny you are or how well you cook, right? You earn your value for the quality of the skilled work that you do. And flirting, men love to flirt. And sometimes it comes across, oh, it was intended to be courteous. You will not be courteous to your other male counterpart. Why would you be so courteous to me, right? So it's all about negotiating that space, which is, I was talking before about the chemistry that happens between women. The explosions are very different than the chemistry that happens when men and women are interacting together, right? But for the most part, honestly, Brandon, women have been quite well received. I think we were so ready for this as a society, as a sector, as an industry. We were ready for this. We were ready to actually to diversify and be more inclusive. I'm sure there is going to be growing pains. There are growing pains. There is going to be a little bit more. But for the most part, I think this was the right time. This is the right time.
Awesome. And this could be, again, an opinion answer, or from what you've seen or heard. But how can men be better allies to women in the construction sector, either in training school or on working on site?
I think I already said this. You need to treat women as good workers. You need to treat them as you will treat your best employees if they happen to be your best employee, right? You need to help them as you will help anybody else in your crew. And you need to give them prize for their work as you will give anybody else in your crew. You will not congratulate one of your crew member on their work style or on their hairstyle or anything. You may make jokes about it, but treat them as very good workers and protect them as very good workers, and build relationships on the quality of the work, the quality of the person, not about the gender that the person holds, but for their actions and for their work. If we stay to this, then the sky's the limit.
That's really important. In your hopes doing this work, where would you like to see the construction sector in Ontario in 5 years?
In 5 years, I will probably be retired and living somewhere in a warmer country. I would like to pass by. I always look inside construction sites as I pass by. I would like to see, I'm not sure in 5 years, but certainly an increase, perhaps up to a 20% representation. We're at 5 now. Increase 5% per year. That will be a really lofty desire. But I think more long term. I think that my daughters and granddaughters, whenever they arrive, or our daughters and our granddaughters will actually someday will walk into a construction site and will own it. Like men walk into a construction site now and they own it, and they will own that space, and they will be treated and given equal opportunities. Not because they're women and now it's politically correct to give them a few seats, but because they've earned the right through the quality of their work to be there. That is really my hope. And the reason why we started on this journey, whether I get to see that or not, that's another conversation.
Okay. Tell us 3 things that are challenging about the work that you're doing.
The biggest things, I think, for not just for me, but for many of us, is to create those long-lasting relationships with employers. Employers, they are these elusive side of the conversation, right? I get a lot of lip service. Yes, but just give me the jobs, right? Give me the opportunities. Commit to give me some of those 15 jobs you're going to need. Commit to give me or to save 3 or 4 for the women, for the graduates in my program, right? That is one of the biggest challenge. I have to say that it's becoming easier, and I think by now we've trained, I think, close to 270 women apprentices that are out there, speaking on behalf of the YW and speaking on behalf of the, not us, but on behalf of women. And I got distracted. So they are now making possible for employers to contact me, as opposed to me always going to knock on their door, but I do a lot of door knocking still. So that is one, because it takes time to earn people's trust. And you just want that opportunity, that one opportunity, and then the work speaks for itself. So that is one of the challenges that I have. The other challenges is also navigating the complexities of the skills trade sector, with the many funders, the different leaders, the union path and the non-union path, and all this crisscross that we are constantly crossing in order to create opportunities, long-lasting opportunities for our graduates. That will be the second, and of course, the other part is funding. Funding that changes from year to year, so I can never know, I can never promise, I can never make a long-term plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan to have so many women at the end of the 5 years graduated and already into apprenticeships, even if they start at pre-apps, because I go from year to year. Every summer I spend the summer writing proposals, and then I spend the next spring recruiting, and then I spend the next fall preparing reports. So some kind of longer term funding stability that will allow us to actually make long-term plans. So those are the 3 things that if I had a magic wand, I will want to get better.
I appreciate those thoughtful answers, man. And those are like really valid points. I think that funding piece that you mentioned, I think that resonated with me working in the sector. Um, what are three things that you love about the work that you do?
Ah, the most the thing I love the most is that the trades are like a jungle. Uh, Everything is in here, the good, the bad, and the evil, and so much to learn. It's so creative. The technology, it keeps me on my toes, and that's a personal choice. I like to be surprised. I'm always on a quest to learn something new. So the variety, the excitement of learning new trades and see who's involved and what it takes, and this is really the greatest thing about being in the skills trades. The second thing is that being a pioneer, this is the last frontier of the labor market, really. The construction, the skills trades are the last frontier for a movement like the women's movement to actually put our foot into. We've gone into medicine, into law, into so many other sectors of the labor market, but construction and the skills trades is for us the last frontier. This is it, right? So being part of this, being part of the group of women or the generation that actually made that possible for those that come after us is very rewarding, very inspiring for me. And so many things about the skills trades are to be excited about. The women that you meet that want to go into the skills trades, the range of life experiences and the quality of the women that actually make this choice. Many of them always walking off the beaten path. Others, some misfits, didn't seem to fit anywhere else, and then they blossom in front of you on the skills trades. And it's just never ending. The learning is never ending. The possibilities are never ending. Who wouldn't want to be in an environment like this where, you lift a stone and there is something underneath that you didn't think it was possible, or you didn't think, it would be there. So yeah, those are very personal reasons to actually love the work that I do.
And my final question is, what keeps you hopeful about the work that you are doing at getting women into the construction sector?
I think I already mentioned there's been a shift. There's been a shift in culture. There's been a shift in perceptions. The conditions of the labor market have made it, if you want to be forceful, to make this shift. But regardless of how we got here or the reasons why we got here, we are here. There is a very noticeable change in attitudes towards what women can do. There is a real demand of good labor in the sector. And I think the two combined are like the two halves of the apple, right? And it's our responsibility as people who work in this sector to make sure that they come together and that they become one unit for the benefit of all, right? Benefit of industry, labor, families, women, and other groups who may not have been as represented in this industry as they could have been.